G'day Flosstube, Anna, aka Mirabilia, back with another stitching update. It's June. We'll call that good enough. It's the end of June. Must be almost July. It's Wednesday, which is a non-starter normally for me filming, but we'll go into that all later. I've been trying to film this since about Saturday. You know, back as a high schooler, I used to work at the Dairy Queen. And at the moment, I feel like, I'm back in the high school days, and my supervisors told me I must serve all blizzards upside down. So I dutifully do what I'm told, and the blizzard goes all over the floor, all over the counters. It's a bit what life's like at the moment. Hence the reason we're filming on Wednesday. Yeah, so for anybody who's not in Australia, I reckon 3/4 of Australia is in lockdown at this point, including myself. In theory, it's only supposed to be 3 days. My guess is it's going to be at least 10 days. But it is what it is. We were supposed to be in Perth. Clearly, we're not in Perth. We were supposed to go to the island after we couldn't go to Perth. Well, lockdown says we're not in the island anyway. So we're demolishing the bathroom instead. Just keep making up plans till you run out of letters in the alphabet, right? So, yeah, that's about it for here. Freaking just chaos every time you turn around, and I'm kind of over it, to be honest. What are you going to do about it? Stitching-wise, I have been making a very dedicated effort to give my elbow a bit of a break. My right elbow, normally I sew in hand, sewing method sort of thing, has been very, very sore. So I have done a bucket load of progress on, I didn't bring the photo, so I will insert a photo, Leonid Akhromov's Aura of Autumn. And hopefully I have a where you last saw it photo to put in there. And as well, I will have to insert a page finish photo when I had it out of the Q-snap, because I promptly put it back in the Q-snap and did a couple more columns. These 2 columns, I think, are past the end of the page finish that I did. But by doing this particular project, or basically anything in a Q-snap, I find I'm getting better at stitching two-handed, which means that elbow stays put and feels better. And so one would think that would be the smart thing to do, not rile, an elbow and create more problems than we already have in life. So just this morning, I finished the 2nd column on the next page, started down, working back up this way on the 3rd column. So that puts me about 40% of the way across that page we're working on. This is the edge of that row. So at this point, my plan is to essentially focus on this project as at least till I finish this row. I'd like to finish this row, and then I might think about switching out to the map, which is again full coverage in a big frame, so I can stitch two-handed if my elbow still needs some relief. So the vast bulk of the last 2 weeks have been spent on this, and yesterday I was feeling ever so smug that, I don't know, I just carried a vacuum cleaner in one hand and something else in the other hand. And I'm like, oh, my elbow doesn't hurt at all. Isn't this great? Not that it's a great deal of weight or anything, but it had been quite sensitive. And so I was feeling quite smug that, it was getting better and whatever. And we were going into lockdown, and I thought, well, maybe I should switch to a different in-hand piece for the duration of lockdown, just to see how much progress I can get in 3, 10, whatever the end of days this ends up being, and a bit of an experiment, see how much we can get done, and it'll be the lockdown piece. So I pulled out Mirabilia's Santa's Magic it was just kind of arbitrary which one I picked, but I pulled this one out to stitch yesterday afternoon with those thoughts running in my head. And there's not a whole heap of progress because it was just only sort of an afternoon, but there is a bit more in the tassel. I think I've almost finished that base of the tassel, and I'm starting to move farther up the hat. There's a bit more, couple new pairs and some leaves in there. I think that's about it. But, you know, a couple hours worth of work on there. And I noticed my elbow was promptly sore again this morning. So obviously I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. So I will try and work on other things in between. But I think we're probably going to focus an awful lot on the full coverage for the short term. This Santa's Magic Mirabilia is done on, geez, I gotta write better notes, guys. My guess is a 28 count because I got so much of it floating around, possibly a 32. Hand dyed myself, obviously converting the original design, being very sand colored robe, into a robe color that suits the fabric that I chose because I thought that sandy sort of background color was boring as. It is what it is. So at this point, the speed of stitching on that one is picking up a fair bit because I'm doing a lot less time diddling with color changes. So it'll be good actually when I can do the whole stitch in hand thing again to see more progress on that. I suppose in theory I could put those sort of projects in the Q-snap. I can't be bothered to change things in and out of the Q-stamp, to be honest. It's one of those things, like, it's not actually that hard to do it, but too hard for my little brain cells to want to do it too often. And at some point, I have zero idea even where. Again, I will have to insert an image of what this one's going to look like. This is another Mania start. It was Kooler Design Studios Paradise Sampler by Sandy Orton. Bird of Paradise. So I was probably on the road, actually. This is why this one would have been pulled out at some point when I was waiting for a kid. I think I mostly went through and was trying to add more brown framework and down into those leaves. I have no idea. I can remember sitting with the entire family working on this, killing time before something, but I have no idea what it was. And that's a very unusual circumstance that, you know, all 5 of us would have been sitting around essentially just killing time in town for something to start. But there you go. That's what would have been happening. So, yeah. I think we're down to the point where I could start kind of back stitching in some of those framework, that wooden framework area. But I don't see this one getting a super big priority push in the immediate future. I don't know, kind of just playing it by ear because obviously no point in making plans at the moment because they just go all out the window anyway. My big accomplishment for the last 2 weeks is the beads arrived and I have finished Nora Corbett's Electra. So she's all done. Obviously, I still need to stitch my initials into her. I should probably do that before I put her away. Otherwise, I will just plain forget. But I did go with the silk lame braid in the moon. And then it's just white beads through there. There's a lot of beads in her, but it actually didn't take that long to bead. There's a few more in, you know, little random bits along the leafies, you know, little bits along the fire. There's quite a few in her dress. So, I mean, she's come out absolutely gorgeous. I'm really pleased with how she's come out. But yeah, I will basically put her into the finishing box. Plan being to finish her before Halloween. But at the moment, with everything else, I have zero inspiration to actually try and, you know, fully finish her right at this point. So we will put her away into the finish box with the intention to pull her out before Halloween. She is stitched on Anubis from Under the Sea Fabrics, which I think was an awesome color to put her on. It's just an awesome color. I haven't met an Under the Sea Fabrics that isn't an awesome color, but you know. My guess is this was a 32 count, although I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, so that is my finish for the week, or last 2 weeks. Don't expect we'll see another. Actually, we must be doing really well, because we had Electra was finished, and we had Paige finish on the Aura bottom. So yeah, doing pretty well in the finish stakes. Looks like this is going to be a super short video, guys, but yeah. The only other thing I got to show you is I did get some Happy Mail. I was watching, several weeks ago now, I was watching Stitching at the Cabin, and Julie mentioned that she had found a 50% off on some Taya Governors on Amazon, and I have philosophical objections to a lot of, I don't like the fact that you don't get the DMC color key, because stuff it, if I bought the kit, if I want to stitch it twice and I'm willing to buy the DMC, don't tell me what I can and cannot do. And if I bought the chart, don't tell me I can't freaking give the chart to somebody else to stitch it. You know, it's just ridiculous. I do not like that business practice. And so really probably will never buy another Taya Governor. But having said that, this one particular design, which is the America one, it has an awful lot of the iconic imagery from the US that we saw in our travels around the States with the kids. You know, so I wanted to do this particular piece as a basically a commemoration of that 7 months or whatever we lived in a caravan and traveled around the US and saw a lot of these places. So I will I made an exception for this kit, and I will stitch this kit, and I will, you know, match the colors, and I will probably give the chart away because I can. But yeah, I probably won't buy another Taya Governor. Never mind the fact that they're expensive as heck. But with that Amazon coupon, which is where the story started before the rabbit hole, it was 50% off. So even with postage to the US, it wasn't too bad. And I figured at that point I could suck up the cost, and yeah. So I think this particular kit came with black Aida, which I have zero intention of stitching it on the black Aida. Not going to happen. But they didn't have any kits with the linen in it on Amazon when I looked. And so, yeah, I haven't decided whether I will do it on the white or the black. I actually wonder about doing it on a different color. I don't know. This is just going in my someday pile at this point. But yeah, I will basically first have to figure out which color I want to do it on, because I'm not fussed on the black, not super sold on the white. Actually, to be honest, like a lot of cross-stitch kits, if you were just basing it off the computer model preview, it looks shocking. Like, I know I've seen this stitched and it looks much better than those models. I don't know why designers insist on using those models, because like even my daughter pulled this out when I got it, you know, because I was super excited, and she's looked at it and gone, ew. Like, yeah, the preview's kind of ew. So anyway, put this away for someday when we have time to start a bigger project. But I'm pretty pleased to have it in the end, but I expect that will be my one and only Taya governor that I ever stitch. So having said that, short and sweet, I don't even think I'm going to do any editing on this video because inspiration is about. So I will see you guys in a couple of weeks, hopefully in a bit of a better mindset. And until then, enjoy your stitching. And if you're in Oz, enjoy lots of stitching because lockdown. See ya. Bye.